Siblings, what's the most devious secret you're hiding from your parents? It's weird and I'm not at all supposed to be talking about it, but I just needed to vent somewhere. Our dad left us when we were 5 and our mom raised us all by herself. My brother was a terrible child growing up and I was probably the brattiest kid ever. So, our mom was understandably sick of us and didn't pay us too much attention. I was 8 years old the first time that I had intimate contact with my brother. We used to play touching and kissing on intimate parts just like we had seen in a movie. We would always wear clothes because I didn't know anything about my lady parts back then. It started just as a game and out of innocent curiosity, but I remember the tickling in my stomach. This sporadically went on for about a year. It ended when we entered the phase where boys played football and girls sat down to talk trash about them. So our general relationship declined a lot and we stopped playing together that much. We have never talked about it and I don't even know if he remembers this at all, but I do. Anyway, years pass and we're back to regular siblings again. Our mom worked hard for many years cleaning houses until she finished studying. She started working odd hours at a hospital, usually the night shift, and then she spent most of the daytime sleeping or running errands. We barely saw her and had minimal parental supervision. It's not like we needed it anyway, we were almost 18 and it was our last summer in town before moving to college. At this time my brother and I didn't have a great relationship, we fought a lot and drove each other crazy, like most teenage siblings living together. We started getting along better that summer because we made a lot of friends in common. He even dated a friend of mine for a short time until she cheated on him. After that, the girl didn't stop coming to our house because she was one of my best friends. My brother clearly didn't appreciate her presence and got in a pretty dark mood every time he saw her. I talked to my friend about this and told her that maybe we could start meeting somewhere else. This was super stressful for me, so I started using W recreationally to cope with anxiety. And the next night I stayed at home alone watching a show. I was super geeked. My brother came in to grab dinner and head back out, but instead, he sat down and ended up spending all night with me. We talked about a lot of things that I don't remember with much detail because I was so deep. Our childhoods, gossip about our friends, what college would be like, and so on. We both were feeling pretty emotional at that time, especially when we briefly discussed the issue of his ex-girlfriend. Next thing I know, we're watching TV together on the sofa. I'm laying facing the TV and I have my legs on his lap. He started rubbing my legs and I just let him. Things got more intimate and I just followed his lead. It was really messy and chaotic. I don't even think we kissed that first time. The next day, I didn't know how to talk to him or how to approach the subject, so I just waited to see his reaction. He acted as if nothing happened, even made small talk and had lunch with me that day. I didn't see him in the house for 3 days straight after that, but he ended up coming back. And eventually, we were intimate with one another again. This time it was me who initiated things because a lonely part of me just liked the feeling. I was struggling with confidence and abandonment issues because of a bad breakup. At the time, I realized that what I was doing was wrong, but that part of me just wanted some way of escaping the pain. Most of the time we were intimate, it involved W or alcohol. We spent most of the day completely wasted and hooked up on our mom's bed while she was at work. And when we woke up we would usually do it again. This happened every day for the rest of the summer. He sometimes made comments about our intimacy or made innuendos when we were alone, but he obviously never brought it up in front of anyone. With friends, we just acted as usual. Nothing changed on the surface, but we were screwing up our relationship beyond repair and we didn't have a clue. Summer ended and we went off to college in different cities. It was sad, but I knew all along it had to happen, so our breakup wasn't traumatic. For years, we only saw each other at family gatherings over the holidays and we barely spoke to one another anymore. I got my degree and moved back in with my mom last year to look for a job in my hometown. This house brings me too many bittersweet memories. My brother stops by a lot because he has a girlfriend who lives here, and we've talked a bit more lately. The awful part of this is that I don't like his girlfriend, at all. There's nothing wrong with her, she seems nice enough, but I just have this truly awful dependency toward him. I really miss the times when he was my best buddy, and seeing him giving that much attention to someone else pisses me off a lot. I don't like thinking about it because what I may find within my head scares the hell out of me. I don't think I'll ever get proper closure. But at least I feel better writing about it, and with time I'm sure I'll be able to patch whatever's broken inside of me.
My stepdad said he's tired of my mom's roast beef and wants to try mine now. He basically raised me since I was 3 years old, and now he wants to try my roast beef. My mom had me at 18 right out of high school, and my dad died a year later, which left her a vulnerable teen mom. Suddenly, my mom remarried at 21 and had my sisters. My stepdad, Scott, was the only father I've known, and he's been amazing. Things changed when I turned 19 though. I remember Scott was becoming a little more touchy than normal, and a little too personal. He started to buy me Nike Pro shorts anytime he could and told me I was only allowed to walk around the house with them on. He told me I was beautiful all the time and said I was well developed, and if he was my age, he would have gone after me right away. He would offer me wine, I declined, and would ask me about my intimacy life after one too many glasses. I brushed it off, because I thought maybe he was being a nosy father and just wanted to make sure his daughter wasn't having intimacy. Then, this kind of stuff continued, to the point where my stepdad tried to kiss me last year. I told my mom and she just laughed and told me that's how he gets after too many drinks. After that I knew that I had to make plans to leave, so I started saving up. After that incident, things died down a bit until my mom got pregnant at 39. It's a higher risk pregnancy, so she's on a lot of bed rest and taking extra care of herself for her doctor. A couple of weeks ago, my mom and Scott sat me down and told me her doctor said she should avoid intimacy during her pregnancy due to various health reasons I won't get into. However, I knew this was partly a lie. Since I heard Scott tell my mom he was tired of her roast beef, they asked me if I could have intimacy with Scott just until she was able to have intimacy again. Of course, I said no. I was livid, I was crying. She told me she'd be okay with it, and she'd be in the room as well. I told her that was even worse. Like, what are they thinking? I have enough money now for an apartment. I got approved, and I'm signing my lease next week. My parents are ignoring me, and the whole house is full of tension. My younger sisters don't understand what's going on, and my mom told me not to say anything. But my sisters are smart, they know something is really up, and won't stop asking me about it, especially the oldest. She came to me crying today, and told me I'd better tell her what's going on right now. I didn't say anything. I don't feel safe anymore in my house. First, my uncle wanted to turn now my stepdad too, who will be next, the dog.
I hooked up with my stepbrother and I'm completely panicking. I'm 20F and my stepbrother is also 20 meters, he's 5 months older. Our parents only got married a few years ago, so we only lived in the same house for 1 year. We weren't very close at all, more like awkward acquaintances, but we went to the same college. It's a small college near our town where basically everyone goes who stays in the area. We both are in the business school, and so we're in a lot of the same classes and activities, so we ended up having similar friends. We got closer as friends/siblings while in school, though my best friend is my roommate. We were all at a bar last Saturday and my stepbrother was being really nice after a guy I was supposed to meet up with never showed up. He kept buying me drinks and laughing at my jokes, and I was a little drunk and I kissed him. He seemed really into it, and we went back to his place and had sex. It was really good and he was complimenting me so much, and I was kind of bummed for a minute that he's not like some random guy, but then the second it was over I left and haven't answered his texts since, and I've been nauseous ever since. I literally feel like the grossest person in the world. If I just initiated this because no one here has really liked me and I was feeling desperate or what. I feel so guilty and I don't know if I should tell my mom or block him or what. I'm going back and forth between having an anxiety attack and remembering sexual things about him, WTF. I don't know if I should even transfer. Sorry for the rant, I'm in such a tailspin. Should I cut him off? Tell my mom? Pretend it never happened and just distance myself? Try to go back to being friends? Edit. Thank you all for the great advice. Really talked me down last night, haha. I texted him and we're meeting up today to talk. We'll update how it goes. Update. I went to the class that we're in together this morning. I skipped it on Monday because I was freaking out, and after we talked, he seemed really nervous and stressed and was worried that I wasn't okay. I told him how much I was freaking out. I even told him about this post, haha. I asked him and he admitted that he did have feelings for me but was never going to act on them, and was shocked when I kissed him. I didn't tell him anything about my feelings but said I appreciated his honesty, but it can't happen again. He was okay with that and basically said he'll do whatever I want going forward. I'm a little bummed because I wish that he was a regular person, as in my good friend not living in my house during winter break, and I could give it a shot. Part of the reason I think I avoided answering him for so long. He's one of the kindest people I know and I'm obviously attracted to him. But the comments have solidified for me that it's not worth it to hurt my mom and potentially cause a rift in my family forever. Not when we can stop right now and stay friends. Some people were saying to just be FWB, but I think we're way too close for that and it would turn into dating, so that won't work. I do know this will probably be an issue with anyone else we date. However, I think it would have been an issue anyways. We hang out a lot. He's always doing things to help me, picking me up at night, opening the doors for me, etc. And obviously some of that will have to stop if either of us start dating someone else. For now we agreed to just stay friends like before and see how things go. As far as my mom goes, she really pushes for us to be a family. My dad isn't in the picture and my stepdad has kind of taken on the role of dad with my siblings. I don't think of him as my dad, but they do send me money every month, come visit me at school, and pay for my apartment, so I'm not exactly a full adult either, free to just completely make my own choices. And for the people saying he got me drunk and took advantage of me, we were at a college bar, everyone was drunk, he was the same level as me, and I wasn't so drunk that I couldn't remember everything, so I don't think that's the case. For people saying this is fake, it's not. There's plenty of comments showing how this happens more than I realized, and if it was, I'm sure this update would be more exciting, lol. We're going to see how it goes. We're acting normal for now, and I'll update this update, haha, if anything major happens. Also, if I did this update wrong, someone let me know. This is my first time doing an update.
Have you ever slept with a step-sibling? I had a 4-year intimate relationship with my stepsister. In the beginning, when my dad and my stepsister's mom started dating, we didn't really have much interest in each other as friends or otherwise. After a year or so, they got married and decided to take the family on a honeymoon to a fairly popular beach for a week. So we have two hormonal teenagers hanging around each other in little clothing for a week. The vacation was a lot of fun. We did lots of beach things and got closer as family, but my stepsister and I really hit it off. On the last night of the vacation, my stepbrother, stepsister, and I decided to watch a movie and we all fell asleep on the couch. I don't remember when, but my stepbrother went to bed and my stepsister and I started to cuddle. This lasted most of the night until we went to bed in the early hours of the morning, since we had to be up at 7 the next day. Just before going to bed, I distinctly remember saying, "This never happened, right?" Little did we know, we just started a 4-year relationship. It started out as every relationship does. We hung out around the house a lot, talked all night, maybe little touches here and there. Over the course of a year, we started getting more and more intimate, and we had to hide this from 3 other, not really open-minded, people that lived in the house with us, as well as our friends, and other family. It was a hard thing to do, and in the early days we got very close to being caught many times but eventually got better. About 3 years ago we went all the way for the first time. I lasted literally 10 seconds. From then on we were like bunnies. Whenever we were together for a night, or whenever really, if I'm being honest, we would sleep together. This lasted until about 4 or so months ago, and for that time we were really happy together. We talked about the awkward family Christmases 20 years from now. What would happen if our family found out, and even marriage. It was just like any other relationship between two people that loved each other, except that we couldn't tell anyone. About 4 months ago I had to move away, and building up to when I had to move we argued more and more until the day before I left we had a big argument and ended the relationship. I thought I was ready, but I really wasn't. Every few weeks I would come home and visit and we would still hang out, but it was different. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, she moved on pretty well and had a boyfriend very soon after, which absolutely messed me up. I became depressed and clingy and all kinds of bad things. And since she was my best friend, I told her how I felt. But for obvious reasons there was a conflict of interest kind of, and I couldn't tell her how I actually felt. One night while we were watching a movie we started to get more and more handsy with each other and eventually kissed. And she has huge issues against cheating and stuff, so she started crying and walked outside too. No joke, tell her boyfriend. Anyway, I was sitting inside and had no idea what to think, and decided that I couldn't hide this anymore and called my mom. I told her that she had to sit down for this and that she couldn't be mad. I cried my eyes out, like snot bubbles, and sobbing cried. It was really hard to do, but I told her. Thankfully, unlike the other side of my family, she was open-minded and supportive of me, and through today is helping me through this. I kept visiting every few weeks, and we eventually started sleeping together again. I thought that would make me feel better, but it really didn't. It made everything worse. I felt like I was being used. After a few visits I told we had to stop because it was killing me. I just couldn't do it anymore. That was when I found out that she was just sleeping with me because she thought it would make me feel better. I think my children are effing. I hope their little baby together doesn't turn out with 6 fingers. I have a bit of a blended family. I married my beautiful wife, Portia, about 14 years ago after my late wife passed away, leaving me with 3 kids alone. She came with 2 of her own in tow. They were all very young, the youngest 2 being around 2 years old. I thought we found a perfect family for our kids after they lost someone very important to them. As our youngest 2 children were too young to remember, I always raised them with the assumption that they were biological siblings. They didn't need to know the horrible truth that both of their parents had passed away. I should have also told them how disgusting it is to touch your literal sister. They were always extremely close, treating each other like fraternal twins. They acted like they could hear each other's thoughts. They would speak to each other with some weird hidden language. To be honest, they freaked the hell out of me. Every day I would wake up thinking they would start doing backbends and chasing after me and my wife with weapons. As they got older, their attachment to each other got worse and worse. My wife and I tried to put them through therapy, but they would just fight us off and sit quietly the whole session. Then, one day it just stopped. They didn't talk all the time, they made friends outside of each other. And they acted like normal kids. I thought my life was finally simple. That was when I started hearing little squeaking at night. I ignored it every time, hoping it was my kid just jumping around in their bed. But when I tell you it was loud, the whole house could hear it. One night, I had enough and went to tell whoever it was to quiet it down. What I saw scarred me for life. When I opened my son's door, I saw 2 filled latexes on the floor and a third being used as my youngest son plowed into my daughter. I screamed at them instantly and they told me to get out because he had 2. Finish. What do you mean finish? I separated them instantly and nearly threw them to the floor. I made them put on some clothes because I didn't want to see their miniature as hell private parts anymore and told them to meet me in the living room right away. I made them sit down and explain why the hell they were doing this. They told me that they were meant to be together, that only they could understand each other in the world because they shared the womb. I don't know how to tell them that they aren't even related. They proudly told me that my daughter is now pregnant, and they were hoping to make a whole family together. Family? I nearly smacked them across the room. My wife and I sent my son to his grandmother's house while we try to get my daughter a baby garbage because I refused to have her walk around with her soul brother's baby, and for my son, well, I am not so sure of the punishment yet. Honestly, I can't blame him as my daughter is very attractive and had a nice giant. So in a way, It makes me very proud that he could get with someone who is out of his league. With that being said, I think a fair punishment would be sending him to my uncle, who is a registered ex-offender, and seeing how he fares, but I am afraid that he is going to enjoy it because he may think that he and his uncle are also meant to be together. I am not sure what to do. Any advice? My older sister left my door slightly open to spy on me and see if I start edging to her Instagram like usual. I see her trying to look at me. She thinks she's smart, but no, she's totally stupid. Speaking of that, she's so stupid that she can't even listen to my parents and advise them that they give her. It could be things like don't leave your stuff lying around in the living room or don't take too long in the shower. My parents have been repeating this kind of thing for months and she doesn't change a thing. Stupid B, but the worst is that she is so selfish that during our vacation in Paris, I'm French so it's not a big deal, she left for several days with a guy we didn't know, leaving me and my parents who had worked hard to pay for this trip for us. At least I had to spend a great time with my parents. My parents were angry but they didn't say anything because it wouldn't have changed anything, and when we came back from vacation she absolutely wanted to go back to Paris to spend time with this guy. Again, once my parents had to accept and she paid for her trip. Speaking of money, my sister didn't work in class and therefore missed her diploma. Inevitably she had to start working. She quickly found a job that paid well, and when her impermanent contract was over she had more than 7,000 euros in her bank account without any rent to pay, which is really good. And this crazy bee spent all her money in 3 months with frickin' Starbucks and Uber. She is the stereotype of the white girl privileged with an iPhone 15 in one hand and a Stanley Starbucks cup in the other. Today things have calmed down a little for a few weeks, but am I the sweaty moist gay hole to still be angry with her?